welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch podcast, the podcast about two guys who use a super sciencey alien algorithm to watch random movies, and then we talk about it for some reason.
Because it's fun.
And I'm Noah Saturn, and with me today as my co-host is the Agent K to my Agent J, Kyle Mulford.
Did you flashy thing me?
What? I had no idea what you're talking about. Here, look at this for a second. Because, visual jokes are the best on an audio format. I wish the Men in Black were involved.
That would have made this movie so much
It would have all
better.
been worth it if Will Smith showed up at the end and tried to flash it.
If someone could have flashy thinged me to forget this movie, but we're ahead of ourselves here.
So yes, the movie we're talking about today is Ancient Alien Origins.
This is a documentary. That's air quotes I'm making. Luckily it was only an hour and 7 minutes long, and you can find this movie on Amazon Prime if you really want to watch it. I'm not selling this movie very well, am I?
Yeah, it's only available. Well, you can also find it on DVD.
That's fantastic. What is this? What is this movie about?
This movie is about how millennia ago aliens came down and helped kickstart the evolutionary process to make humanity better or something, and then we later go off into space and then go on LV-226 or something and find. I wish it was aliens.
That comes later.
That comes later.
Yeah.
When I was talking out loud, this sounds like the crappy beginning of Prometheus.
This guy appears here. This was. I have to start off right away by saying this. Okay, this is written and directed by Philip Gardner. It says that in the credits, the end credits of this movie, but he's not credited on IMDb, and I'm wondering, did he just take his name off of it because it's so bad? However, I looked at his list of his list of movies he's worked on, and there's a lot of crazy sounding documentaries in there.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, I'm not sure why his name. There is not much of anything on this movie on IMDb. There's only actually. The credits say it was narrated by Brandon Schreiber, which that's the only person you hear through the whole movie. It's just him droning on and on.
Yeah,
and IMDb credits Derek Amato as the star. He was not in the credits anywhere. The credits were very short because it was written and directed, it was produced, and there was a narrator.
Maybe it's a pseudonym for
Brandon Schreiber because he didn't want to be associated with it either.
Or something.
I got a kick out of this right away after the description of the documentary. The first opening thing says made by Reality Films because it's about we're all descendants of snake aliens.
Because
aliens are the root of all major religions. Snake aliens, serpent, snake aliens.
And let's take a step back here for a moment. Like you said, the only voice you hear in this entire thing is the narrator.
Yes.
And then you have some archival footage, which I assume was just probably maybe taken from somewhere. Maybe they shot it themselves. Who knows?
It looks like it was just on the streets of some African town or a
generic city.
Generic city over in the Middle East or something. Just very generic
kind of stock footage.
Yeah.
And you can get stock footage from places and legally use it. So, I mean, that's, whatever. If you use stock footage, that's fine. But then there was also, I'm going to say PlayStation 2 era animations.
It might even be PlayStation 1 era animation.
Because it kind of reminded me of very kind of vanilla World of Warcraft when it first started. Even then they had more colors, but I don't know.
Yeah, it was very blocky and the whole movie. Okay, we mentioned the stock footage, but that was very rare in this hour and 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's 2 minutes of stock footage, so the other 58 minutes of it
is all. Just imagine really bad cutscenes from the original PlayStation, the earliest games in the original PlayStation, and there you have what kind of animation
combined with the dialogue.
Well, yes.
With the glorious dialogue of Resident Evil. Here's a lockpick. Maybe you, the master of unlocking things, can find a use for it.
Hey, don't be knocking Resident Evil. That was one of my favorite PlayStation games.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that's memorable.
Actually, and the cutscenes in that
had more movement.
Looked better too because it was almost like really bad video quality, whereas this is just really bad animation.
That's true.
It's like Reboot.
And what's Reboot?
Never mind.
I was gonna say maybe Transformers Beast Wars if you're a fan of that.
That could be. I'm trying to think of another. If you look at a lot of the animation from probably the late 90s, early 2000s, a lot of the cartoons that were trying to do a little computer generated animation in it.
Yeah.
That's the kind of animation you're getting in here.
So kind of like how every once in a while in the 1990s Spider-Man cartoon, he'd swing around like CG buildings for some reason.
Yes, very much like that. Has it sunk in how bad the animation is yet?
It's not great.
So what about the movie? We got serpent aliens are the root of all major religions, and we've got terrible animation.
And that's about it.
Yeah, it really is, because he just goes in to say,
in this language, snake is this. So therefore, snake is also this in this language, and this in this language. There are some common roots. Therefore, aliens.
And that's what I have most. I didn't write many notes on this movie because I couldn't even follow this guy going from one religion to the other. And he would go back and forth and over there and back to this one. Instead of sticking on one religion, he would take a topic and then run it through all of them and say all these names, and you couldn't follow him.
And after a while, it just kind of just washes over you into a sea of bland.
But the one thing that I noticed was what you said, was that apparently every word in the history of language means serpent.
Everything goes back to serpent.
Because he even says at the beginning, snake is known in the language of Canaan as Ab, Ub, Ov, Op, F, and Ev. That's pretty much how, bland he was.
Might as well be Alf.
So we got, in Mayan language, Can means serpent, like the Kukulkan.
Be careful when you say that there.
Yes. Very close. Which means bird serpent. Scottish can for serpent, where we got the word canny, like the wise snake. I'm like, I didn't know canny meant wise snake.
So does that mean they're uncanny means they're non-snake? So the uncanny X-Men were just non-snake X-Men.
No, they were non-wise snakes.
Non-wise snake.
They were unwise snakes.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yes. Vulcan, the Roman god of fire, comes from the Babylonian can for serpent, Vulcan, Vol for fire. So then he goes into this whole, no snakes on Earth have fire, so they must have been talking about the light from the spaceships.
Makes sense to me.
Obviously. Vatican, you've got can for serpent. So can is a very common thing that he uses for this, and so Vatis for prophet. So the Vatican is a place of Vatican is a place of serpent prophecy, in case you were wondering what the Vatican is all about.
I'm sure it is. Yes, I'm sure. Quick Google will just confirm your suspicions about that.
And in Vatican City, the Pope is worshiping snakes. That's what I got out of this movie.
Makes sense to me. Perfect sense.
The Oracle of King Saul is called the one that hath Ob, which means serpent, of course.
Everything is a snake. You're a snake. I'm a snake. We're all snakes.
Hey, I'm a dude. You're a dude. We're all dudes. There were worshippers in Moses' time called the Hivites, and that's derived from Hivia. And what does Hivia mean?
I'm going to say it means a goat.
You're right. It means serpent.
That's what I said.
And then aliens were also known as Baalim, and we derived that from Baal, which is an abbreviation of Ab-El. I don't know how.
Ab-El sounds like a knockoff Superman character.
Which means the shining serpent. So is Kal-El a serpent?
I'm going to say, yeah, Superman is a serpent.
Superman is a serpent, people.
It makes perfect sense to me.
Superman is a serpent. He might be of the Kryptonians are the original aliens.
I think we figured it out.
That came to Earth millennia ago and spread their seed and left.
If only.
What else means? Tanit. Some word Tanit is the patron goddess of Carthage in northern Africa, which he goes in to say that northern Africa is like the root of all of this. It's like the first place the aliens landed or something.
Okay.
Well, what does Tanit mean? It means serpent lady. So,
isn't one of your kids named Tanit?
Yes, of course.
Because she has a forked tongue or something?
Yeah. My kids are weird and snake-like because we all descended from snakes.
Call me a snake. Let's just see how snake-like I can be. You know, for you Latin fans out there.
You can't see body movements on a podcast. I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing either. Put your clothes back on.
Don't look at me. It is. Then he went into like some cup of Agatha Daemon, which is all symbolic of drinking the blood of the aliens or whatever. So it's the same as drinking the blood of Christ. It's the same symbolism. And you know what Agatha Daemon means?
I assume it was like Agatha Christie's less successful sister.
Yes, the good serpent.
The good serpent?
She was good. She was a good serpent. She just wasn't very successful. So, yeah, like basically everything in history of religion, every word means serpent. And maybe I'm just naive and this really is true.
Yes, but you think you might have learned about it, at least a little bit, in your world history class in school?
But they say that the Christians covered it up.
It was covered up by the man.
They were ashamed of it. Because in this, there's a lot of implications of, like, every religion basically worshiping serpents. But Christianity, they were ashamed of this. And so the whole drinking of the blood, like to symbolize the blood of Christ, is actually the blood of a serpent. So they were ashamed that, like, we were actually worshiping a serpent alien. Jesus
is an alien.
Is a serpent alien.
I can tell you.
Because
I went to Catholic schools for 12 years, and I can tell you that is day one kindergarten stuff.
Because the snake alien got Mary pregnant. That's what I learned from this documentary.
Not the Holy Spirit or anything, just the snake alien?
Well, because everything means serpent. So Hevia is, I have written here, he says Hevia is the root of Eve, and Hevia means serpent, because it's another word. And Abel...
At that point, yeah.
And Abel means serpent shining. And Adam and Eve...
so he's a shiny Pokemon? He's worth more if you catch him?
And Adam and Eve and their kids are serpents, which means we're all descendants of serpents.
Yep.
So not only did a serpent come down and impregnate Mary later, but even at the beginning. So the snake that they got the fruit from was actually God.
I guess so.
So God is the devil and a serpent, and Jesus is an alien. And all of my childhood of going to church is wrong, and I don't know what to think anymore.
Up is down, left is right, dead rising from the grave, the sea's boiling, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. I don't need, my whole childhood is a lie.
Yep, yes it is.
And
wake up and smell the snakes.
Did you notice that, like, all ancient, like, hieroglyphs and cave paintings and also all this stuff, anything that had a curvy line, it was a snake.
It was like highlighted with like some light as a snake or whatever.
Yeah. And even if it had a head or not,
even in the alphabet, the S is actually a snake.
It was a snake. As long as it was a curvy line, it was a snake.
Yep.
And so, like, everything you see in cave paintings and all that stuff in your history books, if there's a curvy line, it's a snake, which means they worshipped
It's
snakes.
Not like a river or something, depending on the context of the culture.
Maybe the snake river.
The snake river. Rivers are just liquid snakes.
The swastika is even 4 overlapping
Yeah,
circles.
that one seemed to come out of nowhere.
I just wrote down, I believe that one.
It's like, why are you bringing Nazis into this?
Because Nazis are evil and serpents are evil.
I mean, I was half expecting to say that Hitler had some pretty good ideas after that, and I just want to shut it off. Right then and there.
So, I mean, and let's talk about circumcision.
Yeah, that was funny.
Because circumcising is symbolic of the snake shedding its skin and gaining new life.
So you're reborn after you're circumcised, I guess.
So circumcision is being born again, like into new life. Like it's kind of like, it's kind of like a baptism,
I guess.
So I mean, I'd rather be dunked.
I think we're not going to go down this road any further.
No, I just
let's review this as a whole. This is just bizarre.
I had another thing, though, with the animation, which wasn't the quality of the animation, but they went into a story of Brahmin and his wife. Apparently, like he was talking like this is a very common story, so maybe it is in whatever country it came from.
It's like Indian culture or something.
Yeah, I'm going to admit to you all, I'm very naive with other cultures, religions. So some of this could be coming from stories that are popular stories in other religions. I don't know, but they're telling this story of this guy and his wife who had a snake son, and the only reason I point this out is because it's talking about it like it's supposed to be from ancient history, and the animation looks like it was like almost motion capture of people. They like animated video of people,
rotoscope or something.
Yeah, but they were in like contemporary like jeans and t-shirts and tennis shoes.
Yeah, that was weird. I think it just uses like random stock assets for this particular animation.
And they were pointing out that this is the same as the Mary and Joseph. This is where we come to the serpent baby Jesus.
Of course.
Because it's the same story as Mary and Joseph.
Maybe it's Jesus.
Oh, man. And you think my puns are bad.
Yeah, I couldn't resist.
Druids were Ophites, which are serpent worshippers. That's what Ophites mean.
Okay.
And apparently they were the last truly serpent-worshipping priests in Europe.
All right.
Serpents are related to prophecy because words for divination in Hebrew, Arabic, and Greek all mean serpent. The guy said that. He didn't even say what the words were. He just said all words for divination mean serpent.
Yeah.
Basically, this guy talked for an hour and 7 minutes about how every word means serpent, or
all
serpent lady, or
right now.
good serpent.
It's all about snakes, man.
Do you know what I have said this entire time? I said serpent, 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 snake, good serpent, bad serpent,
Ekans?
serpent.
Yeah, well, it's snake backwards, but you Pokemon fans out there, I just blew your mind.
I thought that was like an original word.
Like how Arbok, the evolution of Ekans, is actually just Cobra backwards.
Cobra.
That's true. G.I. Joe was all about snakes.
They're descendants of Jesus. They were the good guys.
Makes sense. This series has been wrong the whole time.
What else do you say about this movie besides serpent, 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 serpent?
Well, I have a few things. I mean, if this was going for more of like a mockumentary style, mockumentaries are fun. There are great fake documentaries out there. One of my favorite mockumentaries is The Forgotten Silver, which is a mockumentary by Peter Jackson about the supposed filmmaker who was like from the early days of filmmaking, named Colin Mackenzie, who was from New Zealand, and he supposedly found all this old footage, and Colin Mackenzie did all this crazy stuff, like he was like the first man to fly a plane and use a film camera. He did really early like color tests for film or all this other insane stuff. But it's believable enough where you enjoy the ride, even though deep down at the end it's revealed it's all fake. Because that movie was originally made as a prank. But as a piece of documentary, even mockumentary, it's actually a really well-made film. So watch The Forgotten Silver, because it's a good version of a mockumentary that is played straight. This film does not have any sense of fun or even really much of a narrative arc to it. This is just kind of, here, I wrote this 5-page rant about snakes. Read this out and I'll put some animation and music over it, and then we'll call it a day.
Okay, now, I like to say we've started a thing, who should watch this and why? Just to end on a little positive note. We got a little negative with dead time, but we still said people should watch that movie. Who should watch this movie and why? Nobody.
Nobody?
Nobody. Don't watch this. It's awful.
I mean, if you are really a glutton for punishment, you could watch this movie, take really good notes, and then take the time to just sort of refute every claim that is made in this film. Because you could probably learn a lot about history doing that. But I'm not necessarily sure it's worth the effort, because even without all the aliens, real history in itself is fascinating. World cultures and how there are some unique links, there are some sort of universal stuff that seems to go into every culture, that in itself is fascinating. The idea of the origins of where all humans came from, everything, all that is cool, and you really don't need to learn anything about aliens or not aliens or whatever.
Speaking of aliens,
humans all on their own are pretty amazing.
They kept saying that these were serpent-like aliens, but he kept using like the images that we like grew up in
Sort
the
of
80s.
the little green men sort of thing.
The 80s,
The
the
gray,
most prevalent
the gray matter
80s,
aliens,
the big
yeah.
eyes, the skinny, not like really serpent-like at all. They're just skinny and like
With
smooth
big
skin
heads.
with big heads. So they didn't even go to the lengths of making the aliens look serpent-like in this movie. Just whatever. This movie.
Guys, I think we broke Kyle.
Well, you mentioned, it would be a great mockumentary. The thing is I think this guy was serious.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue there. It was played straight, and unfortunately, it was also played rather dull.
Yeah.
If you want to, make a mockumentary, that's fine. I mean, but I think what we watched is actually a knockoff of the show Ancient Aliens on History Channel. Because Ancient Aliens, they have a specific style. If you see that, you know what I'm talking about. As they do actually sort of do the talking head interviews in Ancient Aliens. This movie is as a knockoff of that, in the sense that it has nothing of that, but I think it's just called Ancient Alien Origins to try and capitalize on the name. Kind of like the Asylum, which is a studio where their specialty is kind of making weird knockoff movies. And, I think that in itself still has some amount of value because that still can give young filmmakers and people good experience, because when you're that young, you don't have any experience. Sometimes any experience can't be good experience because you got to be in these real life situations of making a movie. So they've made stuff like Transmorphers or Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies.
They made half the movies you find in Redbox.
That's true. So the Asylum does, and they made all the Sharknado films.
They make all the movies that trick you into thinking you're getting the popular kids movie for your kid because you don't know what they really want. And so they put a title that's really close to it.
It's kind of a font that's really close to it.
And then you get it, and then your kid watches it and goes, "That's not the real movie." That's how kids talk.
Are you saying you've had this from personal experience, Kyle?
Actually, no, because I watch enough movies that I know.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the kind of movie that will trick your grandma into getting something for you instead.
And Ancient Alien Origins, this guy made a documentary that, I like alien documentaries, even if they're even if they're trying to be serious, but you're like, that's just complete BS. They're still fun.
This is the kind of thing where you can joke around with your friends. I mean,
yeah.
That meme became of that one guy who's on in every episode of Ancient Aliens. It's like, I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens. With the guy with the weird hair.
But yeah, this guy managed to make Alien Origins, taking an idea we all descended from snakes. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I mean, that's a solid, it's I don't know, maybe people start turning to snakes again in the apocalypse or whatever. That could be that's at least an okay book or an okay video game or something.
And he managed to make that boring. So
which is kind of a bummer, because, you mix Ancient Aliens with, the Da Vinci Code is basically what it is. That's not necessarily a bad idea for, a sci-fi video game. Code. Oh, yeah, because apparently also all royal and people in power are from the snake people. We forgot to mention that.
But the thing is he says, a lot of people are, but if we're all descendants of Adam and Eve, aren't we all snake people then?
I guess. Maybe snake people is the state of mind.
We'll go with that, and we'll end this, and we'll spin the wheel for a movie for next time.
Kyle sets it up. I think I'm just going to recommend a good documentary. I talked about one mockumentary, but a good documentary, just a straight doc, I would recommend The Thin Blue Line. It's probably one of the most famous true crime documentaries out there. And it's much better than this film because it uses interviews while also using some really well done recreation. So it's pretty much the basis for every forensic files or any sort of true crime type documentary all comes from this one film. So if you like anything, if you watch, I know true crime is sort of a moment right now. So if you've ever seen something like The Staircase or Making of a Murder, or pretty much anything like that, go back and watch this because it's extremely well made. So once again, that is The Thin Blue Line, one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. Or if you really want to get something just to see how far you can push the documentary format, you can go watch Show Up, which is the famous 9-hour documentary that is supposed to be an oral history of the Holocaust.
That sounds really depressing.
But at the same time, I think it's very well needed.
Yeah, yes.
So it actually talks to a lot of survivors, the people who were there, which I think is still very important. That's a great resource that we have.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
spin to win.
we've got the wheel here, and you know the magical wheel.
Let's we picked comedy, so let's hope it's something good.
Spin, spin, spin.
Spin.
What do we got? What do we got?
I don't know, man.
We've got
Reggie Watts Spatial. So it looks like we got a comedy special. So do we want to do like a stand-up special, or do we want to spin again?
I think this will be the first time we've ever spun again, but we don't like a comedy special. I'm not sure how you're really gonna.
I mean, you can critique someone's material, but it's not the same. This is more of a movie contest than a stand-up special.
Yeah, it just doesn't work. There's no
Just as a format, you can't necessarily critique it in the same way.
So we're gonna go for another comedy, and we'll spin the wheel
We're gonna be
again.
spinning like 5 times till you.
We've got Little Secrets. What do we got?
From 2001. Emily Lindstrom, 14, is an inspiring concert violinist. She's also spending the summer practicing for a big audition with her girlfriends at a camp. She's also got a thriving neighborhood business. For 50 cents, she'll keep your secret. Her mother is very pregnant, and her parents seem more concerned about the new baby than anything Emily cares about. A new family moves in, and I'm sure hijinks ensue.
You can find this on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah.
That is Little Secrets. So, that's our show for today. So,
until next time. Hiss. There's actually a terrible movie about a man turning into a snake called Hiss. Look it up.